When we are talking about an outboard with an outboard jet, we have also to maintain the outboard jet complete. That means we have to winterize when the season is over. First, we are going to take the water pump out. So why to take the water pump out? Or you drive a lot during the season, or not so much. The first reason, if you drive a lot, it's good to check how is the water pump and to know if you have to replace it or not. If you don't drive that much, if you don't put a lot of hours on your jet unit during the season, it's interesting to have the water pump impeller out of the housing to have that impeller last longer, because it's not squeezed inside the water pump housing. That jet unit comes from a Yamaha F60, and so we are going first to take the water pump out, just removing these 4 bolts here. So once the water pump is out, you have to check the plate here, and here we feel that makes kind of a little step, and also here on the cover we have also close to the hole that makes a step also. And if we look at the impeller, we see that on the top part it's scratched, and on the bottom part here that makes a small step also. So that full water pump kit is to be changed. Don't forget to check also the impeller key. In that case, it's a special one for the jet unit. It's not the same one if you have a prop on your motor. Once I have my water pump out, I'm going to clean everything and check everything. Check that hose to see if we don't have a leak of grease on the side. Most of the time it leaks from that side, so you have the outlet here, so it leaks most of the time from here. And also always check for the small shims and plastic shims and moving parts over there, the spring washer here, and especially here on the cam, the cam shim and the cam washer here. So I'm going to check my bearing. Without the water pump in place like this, it's easy, and in my desk here I have a hole so the shaft can go through it. So I will twist the shaft, pushing or pulling like this, or bending a little bit on the shaft, putting some power on the shaft. So pulling, pushing, and then you can feel if there's a problem on the shaft. And actually on that one it's growling a little bit, so I know I'm gonna have to change that bearing here at the beginning of the next season. I will leave it in place like this for the winter, but I know I'm going to change that early in the season. So once I check my bearing, if my bearing is good, I'm going to grease it good. So, or with the grease gun we use every day, pumping to push all the grease out the bearing housing to test the water. So, or the small grease gun, or a grease pump like this. If you use a grease pump like this, go easy on the lever, because we don't want to push too much pressure inside the bearing housing, not to break the seals. Once it's perfectly greased, and like I said, we are going to push all the grease from the bearing to push all the moisture out. And then what I just have to do is put some WD-40 on top of the bearing housing to protect the clip we have here, to protect it from corrosion and it's gonna be easier when we're gonna have to remove the clip and the full bearing. One little thing, when you are functioning with a jet unit like this, you must have your water pump housing drilled. So it's the normal, in this case it's a Yamaha, so it's the normal Yamaha water pump housing, but you have to drill it to reduce the power, the water pressure. So if we look here, we have a data sheet from Outboard Jet for the Yamahas on the different water pump bodies or housing, and we have the location of the hole that we have to make. So if you have a jet unit like this, when you are taking all the water pump out, check if you have that hole, and if you have to replace the water pump housing, if it's broken, for example, it can happen sometime. So if you change your water pump housing for a new water pump housing, you're gonna have to make here that small hole. You're gonna have to drill it.